Frack on. Welcome to the episode of Frack the Canon. I am Professor Mex, and I am joined by my Mex-Men. How are you, good sirs and sirs? Start with you, Tyler Weiss. What's your Mex-Men name?
I guess my Mex-Men name will be Tightcrawler, so I'm happy to be here.
I love that. Nightcrawler, I like that. I like that. CJ, what's your Mex-Men name?
You can call me Black Gambit. Remember it.
I was literally going to say that. All right. So if you don't know about what we're talking about right now, Warfing, X-Men 97.
Don't miss Marvel Animation's X-Men 97.
Get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
New episodes. New era. Now on Disney Plus.
Heads up!
To me, my X-Men.
Don't miss the all-new X-Men 97, now streaming only on Disney Plus.
Oh my God, let's just start off with this. Who wants to start first? Because I love the X-Men, and I never watched the X-Men original 92 cartoons. So I didn't care for it. First of all, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it Fox Kids. And I remember everyone loved it. I'm like, no. Even as a little kid, I was very pompous. I was very Frasier-esque. But as I grew up, as I got into comics and X-Men, I love the X-Men, and this show is everything of what I love. Why I love the X-Men. What did you all feel about this?
Well, I'll say growing up, you talk about how everybody talked about X-Men was awesome. It's to invoke some nomenclature from our show, to invoke the naming convention. Like X-Men 92 is kind of like a canon moment in my childhood. You know what I mean? It's like just this thing that it's one of the few cartoons that I hold in super high regard, right? It belongs in the same conversation as like Batman the animated series, as like the Spider-Man cartoon. Like it belongs in the conversation of greatest cartoons like made. But what's so good about X-Men 97, and I know we're just kind of doing surface level thoughts right now, but what's so good about X-Men 97 is it is as good as you remember X-Men 92 to be. Because it's like, if you go back and watch X-Men 92, like, it's okay, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not as good as you remember. But like freaking X-Men 97, like, it's kind of like the perfect execution of what they were trying to do in X-Men 92. And I'll leave that as my surface level thoughts.
Tightcrawler?
Yeah, Tightcrawler. Yeah, same thing CJ just said. I also watched X-Men 92 when it was on. I agree, it should be in a conversation with the greatest stuff that was coming out at that time. And yeah, I'll parrot CJ on that. It is everything X-Men 92 wanted to be, not just in animation, but also in dialogue. They adultified it even more in 97.
It's funny, yeah, because I remember I've been watching back X-Men 92, and I'm not gonna lie, again, I didn't grow up watching it as a kid. I didn't watch it until I got Disney Plus or whatever. Not a fan. I'm not gonna lie, not a fan. It didn't hold up. The X-Men I grew up watching were X-Men Evolution and the X-Men Ultimate X-Men comics. So that's kind of, and the X-Men movies is what got me into X-Men. So when I finally saw X-Men 92, I was like, animation's not good. That is kind of corny. They feel like they're censoring themselves. X-Men 97 felt like, nah, dude, let's just go. It felt like it was made for us, for our generation. Like, even though I didn't grow up with it, but I'm like, I get what they're referencing. X-Men was in the zeitgeist, so I still was aware of it. And this was just it. The first episode I remember thinking was like, when the Friends of Humanity attack the UN, I'm like, this is a reference to January 6th. This is a reference to the insurrection. I'm like, it felt very much like, no, let's just go at it. Let's just go and be, while it's still an allegory or a parable for the real world, it was like, this is still mature. Like there were just all these moments that I'm like, dude, this is so messed up. Like this, like I'm okay. So jumping into it, like that Genosha attack when I'm like, oh, this is about because Professor actually references it when he goes, they were just making love and dancing. I'm like, oh, that was that nightclub shooting in Florida, the gay club nightclub shooting. Okay, I get it. Like, I didn't reference, but I'm like, okay, it's still like it was X-Men has always been an allegory for me. Like, this is not to the real world. This is what I loved about the X-Men was that while it was still costumes and superheroes and superpowers, there was still something real to it. If that makes any sense. Like, it was based on something.
Yeah, X-Men, like as I was watching through this season, like the one thing that I remember is because like yeah, like I said, I grew up watching the X-Men 92 cartoon. That was the introduction of the X-Men and their themes and like who they are and all that to me. And as I was watching this, I was just like, oh man, like I forgot like that how much X-Men doesn't really pull their punches. Even back in 92, when the writing, it wasn't as strong as this, they still didn't like really pull their punches. They just kind of like, no, hit you with a no, this is like this is a view of the world from the discarded people. This is a view of the world from the outcasted people. And this is like they don't have a problem with broaching mature subjects, you know what I mean? Even for kids, you know what I mean? I like it's kind of like you know what I mean? It's kind of famous now, like that we know of, like, but it's crazy for a kid show to like in the first episode or maybe it was the second episode, I don't know, like kill off a character. You know what I mean? Of course they retcon that later, but like like that was like 3 or 4 years when you saw the end up of that, when you saw him come back, like a bunch of kids were traumatized by them killing Morph in like the first episode of but they basically saying all that to say like this is them bringing that back. This is them retouching base on that, but like they very much did lay the groundwork back there for that. And X-Men has always been this. And it's like, I was reminded watching this, like, oh, wait, like, this is why X-Men is good. This is why X-Men, like, is primed for a return now. Like, even though we've had, like, years of, like, Avengers-centered movies, right? Like, this is why we can still have more good X-Men, like, content.
Tyler.
Yeah. So following up on what was said so far, um, yeah, I didn't think of the Pulse Club nightclub shooting, but
That's
you
what it was.
mentioned it was like, yeah. Well, you mentioned it, I was like, oh, could be. But I took that up the whole episode of like just the horrors of war and what it does to peace, and like people who are completely innocent just die. And that episode is where I was like, oh, this is real life now. This isn't like sunshines and rainbows, little kid stuff. This is real stuff. And shout out to Stan Lee, because I was doing a little digging for this episode, and something I consistently heard was X-Men were like an allegory for the civil rights movement. But then I heard people say, well, that Stan Lee actually never confirmed that. His actual quote was, you base it on the people who are downtrodden, people who are discriminated against, and he never actually used the word civil rights movements, but he wanted mutants to appeal to, like what CJ said earlier, the people who um, feel like they're outcasts from society. And X-Men 97 did a really good job of doing that whole tightrope walk of let's keep the source material the primary objective while also talking about social issues. And I think X-Men is the best comic even at doing that, because they don't get lost in they stay on the story, and the story just happens to contribute to advancing society forward. And kudos to I always forget the name of the Mayo, the first name of the creator. I gotta look it up. But you guys remember the first name of the X-Men creator, cartoon creator?
Was it the Pride of the X-Men one?
No, gosh, I'll look it up as we speak.
So let's actually, because I
Oh,
remember.
I got it. Bo DeMaio.
Oh, that guy, the guy who got fired, Bo DeMaio. Yeah. It's funny because that because as growing up, I remember thinking, "Oh, Professor X is Martin Luther King, and Magneto is Malcolm X."
Mhm.
I've never heard of that because I've never heard of it wasn't a Civil War thing because I'm like, dude, it's right there in the comic books. Like,
Yeah.
you miss it, like it's right there in the issues. Like, this is about discrimination and people's rights, whether you're a mutant or not, or what the allegory. Okay, but let's just talk about. I mean, to me, it's there. If you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't. Um, X-Men has
Well,
always been.
just to
Go ahead.
well, one last thought towards that, like because of the reason like that, I grew up thinking that too, right? Like, but like I of course am a minority, right? So I'm like I grew up with that lens, right? But then there's of course like you look at the X-Men movies, where Bryan Singer famously talks about how like that's kind of like he likened it to like allegories of like coming out or being gay, you know what I mean? So that's why like when I was talking about it, yeah, I grew up like thinking of relating this to like the civil rights and to like what I mean, the minority movement, but it's like it's bigger than that, right? Like it is this tale of like the downtrodden, of the outcasts of the world, and like whatever circle of life you find yourself in, if you are that, that's what makes X-Men so powerful because you can relate to it because of that. You know what I mean? You have all these conflicting ideas and feelings because of who and what you are, you know what I mean, and how you feel about who and what you are, kind of thing. And there's always different ways to go about you know what I mean, to go about reacting to how society treats you for what it is that you are or whatever.
Yeah, I agree, completely agree. Because then also a minority, as a Mexican American. So again, with that lens too. But let's get back to this show because this show was just so awesome. Like, here's something I would say that I never thought I would like because I'm a Wolverine fan. Wolverine is my guy. Wolverine is my ninja. Um, but I was surprised how much I like Cyclops in this show. Like that, there's that one episode where was it episode one, or episode two?
It was one.
It was an episode one where he falls using his optic blast to like.
Solid work, team. See you on the ground.
I'm like, okay, I forgot Cyclops could do this, and I think it's also a reference to Marvel vs. Capcom too. But I was like, dude, like, oh my god, I forgot. Like, Cyclops is kind of a badass. I forgot he could be a badass, but I'm just so used to him being a jerk in the cartoons. Again, Evolution and the X-Men movies. I'm like, no, Wolverine's my dude. But I'm like, oh yeah, Cyclops is cool too. That's something that I kind of missed, and I forgot. I read something too that Wolverine was like the creator for X-Men 97 was saying, I want to do an X-Men show, not a Wolverine show, and they came through. But I do feel like I was talking to CJ offline. We are missing some Wolverine. We do need a little bit more. We do need a little bit more Wolverine. But that being said, who was your favorite X-Men from this series of X-Men 97? Or is it still has the same, or is it and your favorite moment with that character?
Yeah, my
Let me
favorite.
oh.
Go ahead. CJ.
Well, I would just to like I'll let you get into your favorites. I just wanted to speak on what Renee
Sure.
was saying on Cyclops though. One thing I always heard about Cyclops, like growing up, it was something my brother used to always tell me. It was something like they would mention on like Wikipedias and stuff, is that like how Cyclops is always supposed to be like this excellent hand-to-hand combatant, right? He's always supposed to be this dude who's like so good at hand-to-hand combat, right? And like literally every freaking interpretation of Cyclops I've ever seen, none of them exemplify that, right? Like he's just standing there posted, boom, 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 like I have no fighting skills whatsoever, right? Like freaking never seen that. Like I always hear that. Never seen that until this freaking episode, right? And I'm like, finally, dude, like not that I'm like the biggest Cyclops fan or that I was clamoring for to see it, but it's just like I always hear this. I never see examples of it. Okay, finally, look at this dude cook, right? Like he's freaking going ham. He's using the optic blast to slide across the room.
Hang tight.
He's like using it in combos, right? Like he freaking like blocks a guy, shoots his leg, like hits him again. Like I'm like, dude, this is freaking awesome, dude. Like, and like in that moment when he's falling from the sky, right? Like I remember I'm watching this, and like First of all, it's a crazy freaking scene, right? Like the freaking jet, like it's like explodes, and like all of a sudden, like it's like okay, and they like move like clockwork, right? They're like, okay, flyers grab the non-flyers, right? Like freaking. By the way, Rogue gives Beast a total wedgie on the way down to the ground, but freaking flyers grab the non-flyers. Morph turns into Angel, freaking like, and and Cyclops is like, oh yeah, good job, team, and I'm just like, what? I'm like, don't tell me he's gonna do like some super badass thing right here, right? Like, and freaking lo and behold, here we go. Like this, it just like shows how awesome the show is, right? And how anime the show is. It's so anime inspired, like the whole time, but he does the freaking thing. Anyways, Tyler, please.
Yeah. Oh no, that's right. And just to before I jump into that, mention I think they made Cyclops so unlikable in the original '92 series is because Wolverine is like the main character of it, and they wanted him to bounce off of someone of authority, and so they made Cyclops so unlikable, and they definitely fixed that in '97 because not only do they make him badass, they explain his angst. Like he always had this sort of pressure from Xavier because he's his first student to be like the best. And now that Xavier's gone, he just monologued it a lot, and it really justified his lack of awesomeness in the '92 series. But my favorite character in the original series is Wolverine, probably because he was all over the screen so much. And I loved him in the comics, all the Jim Lee comics that he drew were fantastic and awesome. But my favorite in '97 was Gambit, especially in episode 5. I for sure remembered it.
The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
And I won't forget it because tears were had when he made his sacrifice.
It's so crazy, and Gambit was my favorite in the '92 series. Um, so like I feel like I love that episode. I love episode 5 because of that. Like again, it was the one that I was I was waiting for to kind of pop off or whatever, and he kind of did. I still don't feel like he like really got like to really pop off in the series, but like I'm like he gets killed and freaking I like the whole series. I'm just in disbelief, right? Because I love Gambit, right? This whole series. Like the rest of the season, I'm like, whatever. Like, there's so much time travel in X-Men. Like, Gambit's coming back. You know what I mean? Like, and freaking like and it's not like so it hit me, you know what I mean? But it didn't like hit me like it's not until the last episode and freaking like they're like in the climactic battle. Sorry, one of the climactic battle because the last episode is like 7 climaxes. But freaking like freaking the last episode, like Rogue's like charging to the room and she's like, his
name was Gambit. Remember it.
And that's where it hit me. That's where it broke me, dude. I'm just like, oh no, yes, it was Rogue. It was Gambit, dude. But I would say like, but this series, I think my favorite character was actually Rogue this time around. I thought they really did some interesting things with her character, like legitimately like her deciding and following through on like killing God, what is his name? Is that Trask?
Trask.
Okay, yeah. Like there's a couple of like minor characters that I'd like interchange in my brain, like Trask and the Gyrick. Like I'm just kind of like thinking they kind of slip back and forth to me. But when she just like willfully just decides to kill Trask.
You want redemption? Help us get the real bad guys. What else can you tell us? Anything helps.
I'm sorry. I have nothing.
Same, sugar.
That's like that is not one of my favorite moments in like animation history. Like I freaking loved that scene. Like and like the immediate like kind of like aftermath is there's like drama building, right before like freaking everything just explodes to like
Dude,
chaos. But like, I legitimately love that whole scene. I really like what they did with Rogue, and just also, honorable mention favorite animated moment to her just freaking yeeting Captain America's shield too.
This uniform shows up in Mexico bashing heads in with you. It sends a message.
Damn right that you stand with mutants. Unless you don't now.
Gotta do this by the book, Rogue. Right now, my hands are tied.
Well, if your hands are tied, you won't be needing this.
dude, that was so. Dude, I love that moment so much. Well, we won't need this then.
I just imagine the quick phone call that Cap makes to Tony Stark, like, "Hey, can you do me a favor, bro? Like, I need somebody to go get my shield for me."
I just imagine someone in a shed in like the mountain somewhere getting decapitated.
Dude, it's funny. Back to Rogue. Like I remember thinking, like, because I never cared for him. Oh, you can just like copy someone's power, blah blah blah. But I really cared for her in this one. And then back to that moment you said, CJ, when she says,
"That rotten piece of scum put a good man, my man."
dude, I'm like, oh my god, because she was the whole time she was debating between Magneto and Gambit, and Gambit's like, all right, I'll let you go, you choose whoever you want to choose, and then whole Genosha happened. So dude, that broke when she says she killed a good man, he killed my man. When she claimed him, I'm like, dude, wow, that moment got to me. That moment was like, okay, Rogue, I'm with you. And then when Rogue joins Magneto at the end, dude, and then
And she put Gambit's coat on Professor
yes,
X. I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah, that was so awesome, and I just love that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's like kind of what we were talking about. You know what I mean? The tale of the downtrodden or whatever. You know what I mean? Or even like kind of what Tyler alluded to. You know, the tale of like the horrors of war, even too. You know what I mean? It's just like when you're in reality, when you're in real life, when if events and perceptions affect your daily like existence, like you have attitudes about stuff, and like there are different ways to like approach it, you know what I mean? Like, and somebody and because of that, like both people can be right, you know what I mean? Like in one of the final scenes in X-Men 97, when we are in Magneto's mind palace thing, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like, holy crap, one of the greatest scenes ever too, as well. I'm gonna say that a lot, but freaking just that idea that like, and like the crux of not just the show, but of X-Men, like the franchise, right? It's always comes back to, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I said, how do we get back here? It always comes back to just X versus Magneto. It always comes back to just their two ideologies meeting head on. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're both right, and the fact that like I love that. Like, A, because they're both right, and like I love that the resolution of this could only come about if they trusted each other. You know what I mean? Like Magneto, like Professor X shattered his mind and was like, he could have left his mind and he could have left him there, but he was like, no, like we can't win this battle unless I fix him. You know what I mean? Like, and I will die here with him in his mind if I can't fix him. You know what I mean? Like, I will freaking fix my best friend. Like, whose mind I just broke because he made me do it. Like, but still, like, freaking, like, this don't work unless we all work together. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that so much, and I think that episode like already like 4 times since it aired. I'm like, because it's in English and Spanish. I'm just like that. I'm like, dude, like that is so true to that scene is so true to that character and those characters, because like you said, it's very much them two like going. They're both right, but something as you said too was like Magneto didn't have his brotherhood. They both used the X-Men. So it's funny how like the X-Men are just kind of like wherever, not wherever the wind blows, but like the X-Men can fit into either ideology, like perfectly. So I'm like, but that moment where even when Professor X says, "I'll go down with you, but I'm not gonna let you go down," I'm like, dude, like that moment, I was again, like, oh my god, dude, like this is why I love the X-Men, dude, because at the end of the day, it's about these two frackers who just like pretty much broke up and made it everyone else's problem.
but like, but see, that's the interesting thing about it, right? Because it's not their fault. they're born into this world. They're just trying to fix the world. So it isn't like, it's not like other movies and other things where it's like, no, they also started this. So, and they're just trying to clean it up. Like, no, like they're born into this like stupid world. You know what I mean? Like people, like humans. You know what I mean? They were born into this wretched world. They are both trying to do what they can to save the world. You know what I mean? They just have different ideologies as to what like can save the world. You know what I mean? Like, and what you say, like the X-Men, they were like blowing with the wind. They could be on the other side because like they're real people. Like, in both of them were on. I mean, they were on either side like the whole time. Like where, you know what I mean? Cyclops blasted Professor X, you know what I mean? Like to save Magneto to give the other team more time.
I'm sorry, sir.
Gold Team still needs more time.
You know what I mean? Like, he did that not because he was pissed at Professor X, because he was like, no, like I see this, like this is the right thing to do in this time right now, to protect my people on that side of the thing. Like, I gotta stop you from doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? And he was fighting for Professor X, so it's like, yeah, they could be on either side because it's like it's super relatable. What did you have a favorite moment?
Oh, me too. There were so many. There's two moments. And it's from that episode, that episode 5, the Gambit one. Is when he says, and it's the same. It's like, my name's Gambit. Remember it. That was like, you do it, man. Do it. Tell him. Show him who you are. Because I've always like, in my list of X-Men, it's Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Gambit. And Gambit in a car kind of wreck. But then the next scene, it's that when Rogue's like,
Sugar. I can't feel you.
I'm like, dude, like I literally started crying. When she's crying, her voice breaks. I'm like, I can't feel you. Dude, I started crying. I'm like, dude, what the frack? And you're like it hit me so hard. I don't know why, but it hit me so freaking hard, that scene. And I think moments like that, okay, this is cool. I think those two are my favorite emotional scenes, like most emotional beats. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's mine too. Those back to back is when it broke me, and for me, it moved the show from a 9 to a 10. But if I had to pick, I had two others. One is in I think it was episode 9, was it? Or no, episode 8, where Wolverine and Nightcrawler are taking out all the Sentinel people.
Why resist the inevitable?
Lady, I got 6 reasons why.
No, mein Freund. Nein.
In Rogue's hospital. I love that scene. Incredible. And it's starting actually with when Wolverine is falling through the sky and it's just cutting people in half on the way down. And then my other moment is on the last episode in the beam struggle. In case you didn't know this about me, I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. And anything with the beam struggle, I just am completely infatuated with. And when Cyclops was,
You'll never hurt my family again!
and then he did like the Marvel vs. Capcom, like big huge optic blast where it filled the screen. I was like, heck yeah.
Anything else? No? All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you same freaking time, same freaking channel. Away, my Mex-Men.